This is Susan Wilbanks with blendedinsight.com. I am a holistic and integrative healing arts practitioner, an intuitive, and an energy healer. In this podcast, I share tips, tools, and suggestions that have helped me along my path in hopes of inspiring and helping you along yours. Let's get started with today's podcast topic.
Hello, Bright Soul. Thank you so much for joining me on another podcast. As always, I want to start out by saying thank you so much for being here. I appreciate you from the bottom of my heart. You all mean so much to me, and I wouldn't be here without you, so I have to say thank you. And I had the most amazing workout this morning, and I was really sitting into gratitude and being in the present moment. And I was on leg press this morning, and one of my gym buddies came over and commented how strong I am, how many plates I leg press, which really was super sweet. But then he told me that he actually couldn't leg press as much as me because he had double knee surgery and he has to take it slow. And I thought to myself, what an inspiration. This man, he's an older man. He's in there every single morning like me, usually around the same time, sometimes earlier. He's been going just as long as me, so for years. And here's this man who is recovering from knee surgery, and he's in there working his body and doing what he can every single day. He's kind, he's considerate, and these are my people. These are my people who focus on what you can do, get up, they're disciplined, they're structured, and doing all the things that they can do to take the very best care of themselves. And it makes my heart explode. It's just like, you never know what people are dealing with and going through, and shifting out of victim consciousness where it's, woe is me, you have this that I don't have, and all the things that people have the tendency to do. What an inspiration to shift into a victor mentality. Yes, this happened, but here's what I can do. So I'm going to focus on what I can do. And I love that. So I was really sitting in that this morning like, oh, life has given me the opportunity to align with some of the most beautiful people, and I'm so, so grateful. We've got so much to be grateful for. And I'm going to go into the topic for today because this is something that we talk about a lot. And listen, this is not going to be advice. This is going to be sharing with you what I have done and what I do when I am faced with a fork in the road, when I make a decision about what to do next. So again, I'm not giving you advice, so don't come at me with the victim consciousness because Susan's not telling you to do anything. I'm simply sharing with you what I do and what has worked for me over the years, because I have made large transitionary choices when everyone else is saying, that's wrong, you shouldn't do that. And I've had to block all that out and dig into my spiritual practice and do what's right for me. So with this disclaimer, I'm going to share with you what has worked for me in hopes that maybe it gives you some inspiration or some tools to navigate this for yourself. One of the benefits of a private session is we can clean your aura and get rid of all of the stagnation and the confusion and the emotional attachment so that you can have a clear channel to hear your own answer, so that you can have confidence in what your next step is. We can also do readings. And what I always want to say is readings are always a snapshot in time. And a lot of times I'm reading the energy around you. Yes, I can get stuff that you can't get because I'm not attached to your outcome, but I'm also it's coming through me and not from me. So I can't guarantee that I'm going to get a certain answer that you want because I have no idea. I am actually tuning in to the message and I am an interpreter. So I always say, take what resonates with you and leave the rest. And sometimes when people are in desperate situations, readings aren't always helpful because they're clinging and overthinking and over-energizing. And we have so much tremendous power depending on what we choose to focus on. So I want to say that before I go into ways that I personally make decisions when I feel like I'm faced with something where I need to determine, should I stay or should I go? So the first thing I want to say is I want to acknowledge that it's very scary to make life changes and big decisions. And it activates this nervousness inside us. But sometimes nervousness and fear and excitement feel the same in the body. So one of the things, and you all know what I'm going to say, I like to breathe on it, do breath work to discharge any excess emotion that's in my body so that I can hear that still small voice within. Because when you're activated and you're in fight or flight, it's very difficult to hear those answers. So one of the things that I like to do on a practical level, and exercise also helps, all the things, energy healing, tremendous, meditation, tremendous, is writing a list of pros and cons. So one of the things that I like to do is writing down the cons, writing down the pros, and see, are there more good things than bad things? Are there more up times than down times? And if it's like a job transition, for me, then if I'm going to transition out of a job, then what else do I have lined up? How do I want to feel? Because one of the things is like, if you're leaving a job in a unethical way. So I want to do all things in integrity, do things the right way, even if I'm not being treated correctly, listening to my intuition about what is in alignment with the vows and the values that I have taken on this path and what's best going to serve me. And for me, it's always an intuitive thing, listening to my intuition and then figuring out, okay, what's the next steps? Because you don't want to just, if you have a lot of responsibilities, just quitting a job. And I'm not talking about abuse situations in relationship or job or transition. I'm not talking about that. That's something different. If you need to get help, get that. I'm talking about things where we have an inner nudge about, should I leave this or should I go? So for me, lining something up first so you can be responsible and handle your responsibilities is important. And then looking at all the facts, laying out all the facts, doing all the research, and then going within to hear what your intuition is saying. What are you being called to do? Because that will always serve you. It never steers you wrong. That's my personal experience. If it's a relationship, once again, is this someone you can talk to? Is this person a safe person to share with? Is this person someone that you can grow with? Those are all things that you have to determine on your own. And a lot of times people will say, well, I've invested so much time. Okay, so what's 7 more years in a draining, toxic relationship? The time can be wasted if you're spending your time and it's just making you sicker and more disconnected. And I know it can be confusing when there are ups and downs. So this is why I say it's an intuitive practice for sure. So, and I've had to leave relationships before, so I understand, and I've left marriages and all those things. So again, are there more ups than downs? Is this person in alignment with my values, and are we going the same way? Are we growing the same way? Does this person want the same things that I want? And are we growing at the same rate? Do I feel good around this person? Does this person make me feel safe? Does this person regulate my nervous system? Because I have stayed in relationships too long to where my nervous system was dysregulated, and I had to leave a marriage in a very dysregulating way. It was, my guidance was telling me to leave in a way that I did not want to leave in that way, but I had to because I was with an unstable person. The person was emotionally volatile and it was dysregulating, and the person wouldn't accept the fact that I didn't want to do it. I couldn't do it anymore. So only you know. And it ended up being fine. Person, it's a good person. It just wasn't my person. And I think that I know I was giving a healing crisis because I was climbing at such a high rate and there just wasn't anywhere to meet anymore. And it just had to be dissolved. That was the only answer. And I stayed way longer than I should have. And I know it's uncomfortable, especially those of us who are sensitive. We can feel the energy of other people and we want to do the right thing. We always want to do the right thing. And we're very compassionate. And so sometimes we have to apply that compassion to ourselves. So the other thing that I learned a long time ago, I think his name is, geez, I'm going to butcher his name, so I'm not even going to say it because I can't remember his name. So there's a process that you can do where you can close your eyes and focus on your breathing, get yourself into a relaxed state, and then put your hands out on top of your legs, palms facing up, and then put each decision in one decision in the right hand, one decision in the left hand, and then gently raise your hands and feel which one feels lighter and which one feels heavier. And this is a way to kind of tap and tune in if you can't hear your own answers. And so whichever one feels heavier is probably the no. And the one that feels lighter is probably the yes. And the other thing is like visioning. So if this person or this situation doesn't change at all, will you still be happy? Because one of the things that we can't do is change another person. And over the years, I get people saying, oh, could you do a healing on this person to change this person? Or can you do a healing to stop this person or this family member or whatever from? No, I can't. I can't impact free will choices. Every soul has their own path. And sometimes we come together for a certain time and the ego thinks it's forever, but the soul knows it's not. And so it starts to get so incredibly painful until you're just forced to break the connection. Sometimes it takes that. And I can speak from experience. I've stayed in relationships longer than I should have, more than once. So I total is aside from my intuition saying go, I can override that, especially before I got comfortable with listening to my intuition, knowing what it sounds like for me, what it feels like for me, and how it's never wrong, and how disastrous it ends if I don't listen. So it's different for everyone. So, and the other thing is really paying attention to how you feel in the presence. And sometimes it's a mindset shift. So, there are times when I've worked with people who are just so stuck in victim consciousness that they can't see the forest through the trees. They just can't do it because they're so stuck in victim consciousness. And I can see that it's them. It's not the other people. It's all their projections. And they have so much work to do that they're just muddy. So in that instance, I would say really do some deep diving on yourself and healing yourself. The energy healing is great. Meditation is great. Sometimes therapy helps, but really do the practices to get clear on yourself and how you're showing up. And am I projecting so that you have accurate perception about the situation so that you can make the best choice? And so those are the things that have always worked for me. And I know this is kind of high level, but I wanted to come in and say this because, and again, I know it's hard, but the other piece of it, and this is what's always worked for me, is if it stays exactly the same and there's no shift, if I've done everything I can, because I know in my instances, I'm in my zodiac chart, they call me like the try hard chart. I will turn over every single stone. It's never for lack of trying. I'm not one to just quit and walk away. I'm definitely not a quitter. I'm very disciplined. Once I'm committed to something, I'm all the way in, I'm committed. So if I've tried to get counseling with someone and they don't want to do it, if I've done all my healing work, invited them to healing, and they don't want to do it, then there's nowhere to go from here. We can't grow any further. In the work situation, it's the same. Let me focus my attitude. And even when I have been in unhappy job situations, because I've had those too, where I'm a single parent, I'm unhappy, I know this isn't the right fit, but I have to do it to be a responsible adult, participate in the material world. I want to be in integrity. Even then, and I'd shared in a previous podcast about keeping myself in the best possible mindset, staying positive, being grateful for the job at the time because I know that it's helping me to support my family and there's always something good. And sometimes we get so caught up on the negative things that we forget to see the positive things. So the other thing is reframing it. Oh, this is a stepping stone and there's something here for me to learn and I need to show up, be kind, be compassionate. I know that souls that want to help me are being drawn to me. I can help. How can I be of service? And shifting that mindset so that you're not creating the same problem in the next job because it will happen if you don't do your own work. And it always goes back to ourselves. It always goes back to the self. How are you showing up? Are you listening to your intuition? How can you serve? What is it that you can focus on here and now to stay mindful, to stay present, and to be aware when the messages come in about what to do next? So in this healing, I'll clear any chaos in your aura, any clutter in your aura so that you can hear your own answers and get a sense of peace and clarity. So let's go into the healing. You can uncross your arms and legs because that opens up all the energy channels. There'll be no kinks in the energy system and it just flows better. And I'll turn the healing on. Okay, and so it is. Friends, I know this can be tough, but you're so capable, and this is how we grow. We do not grow when we're comfortable. We grow when we make leaps and bounds and we're challenged. This is part of life. We all go through it. I understand that it's not fun. It's not fun when I have to go through it, but I'm always so much happier on the other side. And I want to wish you the most beautiful week. If you feel drawn, check out Patreon. The link is in the show notes. And you can also check out Pause Breathwork. It's in the show notes. Take care. Bye-bye.